In this video, I'll share 5 orchestration tips that will help you overcome that feeling of having too many choices, make your writing more effective, and save you time so you can write and finish more music. Stick around for number 4 because it completely changed my composing process. Number 1 is about voicing chords in the woodwinds. This comes from the book Project Lessons in Orchestration by Arthur E. Hecox. The problem with the woodwind section is that it's made up of a whole bunch of different timbres, or sounds. Unlike the strings, which sound pretty consistent all the way from the basses up to the violins, the woodwinds don't blend as well. One solution is to think of your clarinets and bassoons as the string quartet of the woodwinds. Clarinets and bassoons have a warm and rather mellow sound. The oboe and flute, on the other hand, especially the oboe, tend to draw more attention to themselves. In his course Secrets of Orchestration, Rovshan Asgarzadeh calls the oboe the naughty boy of the orchestra, which is probably the best line from an orchestration course ever. But what he's really saying is that the oboe doesn't really blend well with other timbres and tends to stick out. Let your oboe and flute be the divas who carry the melody, and use your clarinets and bassoons for the harmonic support. You'll have a reliable formula for using woodwinds that works pretty often. Of course, as you get more advanced, you'll move away from this, but as a starting off point, when you don't know what to do with the winds and still have a lot to learn, it's a handy shortcut. This brings us to tip number 2. This is from my own observations. I used to think that you wanted as much contrast as possible between your melody and your accompaniment. So if the melody's on the violin, put the chords in the woodwinds. Or if the melody's on the trumpet, put the chords on the strings. Eventually I found that the opposite of this is actually common and effective. Instead of always going for contrast, you can actually get effective support from similar timbres. If your melody's on the violin, try supporting it with the lower strings, or have an oboe supported by clarinets and bassoons, as we saw earlier. Got a melody on the trumpets? Try giving the chords to trombones. The next tip is about percussion, and it's something I've covered in a whole video, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It comes from Samuel Adler's book, The Study of Orchestration, and from studying John Williams scores. John Williams' music is very energetic and rhythmic and propulsive, and he's able to do that without relying on the percussion section to provide a groove. Instead of treating the percussion section like a drum set, he uses the percussion for support and color. I'll put a card up here and a link in the description for my video about how John Williams uses percussion in the Star Wars Force Awakens score, because a lot of beginners tell me they don't know what to do with percussion. That video should help. This next tip is the one that completely changed my approach to writing music. It comes from Elaine Mayrand of Score Club, and specifically his course, Orchestrating the Line. One of the first lessons in this amazing course is to completely mark up your line before you start orchestrating. He has a whole 6-step process, including dynamic markings and articulations. It sounds simple, but if you take the time to really think about how your music will be expressed and performed, you'll not only make it more effective and musical, you'll also solve a lot of important orchestration questions right there in your sketch. For example, if you accent a specific high point in the melody, this might suggest that you should support that note with a thickened line. Not only do you end up with better lines, but you also end up with a much more refined and crafted orchestration. You're no longer just stacking layers, like, okay, here's my melody, now I'll put the chords underneath, now I'll put some rhythmic support. Instead, you're thinking about how the music is expressed linearly over time, and you end up with much more sophisticated results. I was always caught by this flute part in the Mother Goose suite, and wondered how Ravel chose to only have it play 2 notes in the entire phrase. After understanding how the orchestration is supporting the line, in this case the crescendo and decrescendo, it all made sense. Tip number 5 is another one that comes from Arthur Hecox, and it's about how to get a full and rich sound in any section of the orchestra. Start by harmonizing your melody as a 4-part chorale. For example, this chorale arrangement on piano will sound great on strings, woodwinds, or brass. But this is just the beginning. You can then use this as a foundation and double up in higher and lower octaves to create a huge orchestral sound. To learn how to do this with the strings and create something truly epic, you need to watch this video here, where we start with 4-part chorale and build our way up step by step to a massive result. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.